Today's conversation is on The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Alongside the other books that we've discussed thus far that have been very helpful to build 3 successful businesses, ideal harmonious relationships, and communication skills, which include The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which we recently discussed. And I'll link in the description to a playlist where we explored my personal experiences with respect to these books. Today I would like to explore with you another powerful book. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I came across this idea of the subconscious mind back in 2004 through a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. In this book, he speaks about the subconscious mind, and it was the first time I heard of this idea of the subconscious mind as a place where beliefs, memories, and certain thinking processes are stored, from which a person acts automatically from, and also generates the experiences of life, the environments, the life experiences, the relationships, etc. First time I heard that there's a place where you can access called the subconscious mind and go in and change this programming. And it worked. Because by applying the principles in Think and Grow Rich, I was able to get out of $50,000 debt. I was able to move up in my corporate career, build my IT business to success, manifest ideal harmonious relationships, life experiences, transform my life through understanding the subconscious mind. I did it through autosuggestion, which is also what Joseph Murphy talks about. So we have a conscious aspect of mind and a subconscious aspect of mind. We can also explore the superconscious aspect of mind, although that goes beyond the scope of our discussion today. Understand that there's a power within your subconscious mind that takes what you believe to be true and externalizes it as the outer appearances of life, be it ideal harmonious relationships, business success, health, fitness, etc. You have full control of your ability to place in your subconscious mind any idea that perhaps in the earlier stages of maybe discovering that idea, it doesn't seem to be true, even though clearly it's true. Like, for example, as I always say, you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. That is your true nature. Now, a person might not believe this. Certainly, I didn't believe this in the earlier stages. It was challenging for me to believe this because I was identified with programming, beliefs that were stored in the subconscious mind that I formed through going through life experiences since I was a child and creating beliefs in mind as to what those life experiences mean about me, people, environment, circumstance, information. And I didn't know about this, that these beliefs were stored in the subconscious mind. Now, these beliefs would play out as theater. They would play out as the various inharmonious relationships, being in $50,000 debt, which we could even say there's no problem with being in $50,000 debt. For example, if you can leverage that debt to grow your business or buy some real estate, etc., there can be some benefits to it. Personally, I found that it wasn't for me to be in credit card debt and then have challenges paying for things, even though I had a promising job in corporate. It appeared that the beliefs stored in my subconscious mind were generating this experience of being in debt in a way where I felt like I was a slave to money. Certainly you are not a slave to money. Certainly I am not a slave to money. Money is a wonderful resource that we could use to buy food, shelter, experience a wonderful life, and it is abundantly available. And we can work with money intelligently to have the life that we truly desire. Now, consciously, this seems like an obvious idea. Yet there may be programming that seems to suggest otherwise in mind. Thoughts of disharmony surrounding money, surrounding our relationship with money. Same is true, for example, when it comes to relationships with people. Thoughts of disharmony. How do we know that these thoughts of disharmony, which arise from particular beliefs stored in the subconscious mind, are ones that we are identifying with? Well, what we think, how we emotionally relate, and our behaviors. For example, let's say a person hears the word money. If they have particular beliefs surrounding money that are not helpful to them, we can call them untrue, illusory, limiting, restrictive beliefs. As soon as they hear the word money, they may begin to think thoughts of, perhaps they might say, money is not for me. Other people have more money because they're lucky and I am not lucky. It's hard for me to make money. Making money is very challenging for me. They may be suggesting these things to themselves. And even as I say these are so untrue to me. These statements are so untrue to me that I cannot accept those suggestions. Yet, prior to reading Think and Grow Rich, I believed in some of those suggestions. One of which particularly included that money is a result of hard work. Because that was my experience. I remember when I was 16 years old, I wanted to get my driver's license. And I really wanted to have my own car. And I said I was going to do whatever it takes so that I can buy the car that I wanted, which at that time was, and this was back in 1997, the car that I wanted was a 1987 Ford Mustang GT 5.0. I wanted one of those. I loved Mustangs back in the days. So, what happened was I worked really hard. I worked in these warehouses. The first job I got was actually quite an interesting, fun job. It was telemarketing. And it was at that point I was starting to see signs that I was naturally pretty good at particular skills. This is part of the power of your subconscious mind, is discovering our authentic habits, as we talked about in the book when we explored Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'll link in the description to that video. Aside from that, I was working very hard at the jobs that followed that. I did that job for a little bit, but I worked in a lot of warehouse jobs. I remember one time working at this factory where they would make furniture, and I was a painter's helper. So I was smelling these paint fumes, and I would work long hours. I would start work around 7 a.m. and at times I would finish at 7 p.m. or even midnight. I would stay overtime, and there were times where I would work 7 days a week during the summer while I was off school. And so I ended up saving up money and buying my car, the car that I wanted. I had this association over the years that if I wanted to make more money, I needed to work harder and harder and harder. And there was a belief that said, you know what, it's fine if you work hard as long as you make money. If it means that you work harder and harder and make more money, that's totally fine. Just keep working harder and harder and making more and more money. And then when I came across Think and Grow Rich, he said that if you believe that money is a result of hard work alone, perish the thought, or something like that. And I found it challenging to accept that suggestion. Yet when I created Autosuggestions, which said something like, money shows up effortlessly, easier each day, doing what I love to do, sure enough, it started to appear that way. And that's when I really understood that, wait, I can go into my subconscious mind, I can understand the programming because I'm aware of what I think with respect to particular words, experiences, etc. And if it's not authentic, if it's not in harmony, I could change those beliefs through autosuggestion. So that's what I did. And then in 2007, I came across this book, Power of the Subconscious Mind, Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. In Think and Grow Rich, there was a chapter dedicated to subconscious mind. Yet Joseph Murphy's book went really deep into it. So he says here, when we're looking at the conscious and subconscious mind, your conscious mind is the watchman at the gate. Its chief function is to protect your subconscious mind from false impressions. So when I read that, I said to myself that, wait, I am the one that chooses what to think. Nobody actually tells me what to think. I choose what to think. Even if it appears that a person tells me what to think, or says, you should think this, or you should think that, don't think like this, don't think for yourself, think like this instead, I can still choose if I want to accept that suggestion or not. So I would check in with myself. I would say, is that true? Does that feel authentic? And if it didn't feel authentic, I wouldn't believe it. My litmus was and still is it from the premise of love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment? Is it from the premise of my true nature? If it's not, I don't identify with that thought. Now, this practice was challenging for me in the earlier stages because I had particular beliefs in my subconscious mind that were generating resistance. So, for example, if a person said something that I interpreted as something suggesting not love, not happiness, not peace, not bliss, not fulfillment, I would get angry at them. And it would turn into conflict. an argument. And I would further identify with that thinking. For example, I might say, well, what they said, maybe that is true. Name whatever, fill in the blanks. Any kind of limiting or disempowering statement, I would say, maybe that is true. And I was wondering why I was thinking that, even though clearly it wasn't true. That is because these beliefs stored in the subconscious mind were suggesting otherwise. It's interesting. A person may be so identified with these beliefs that even if consciously they know it doesn't feel right, they may continue to identify with those beliefs. And then I discovered what these beliefs were. One of the beliefs was that I need to listen to people because they know better than me. And while it's helpful to explore opinions, the autosuggestion that I created went something like, I listen to myself, I trust myself, it is easier each moment to discern what is true. I appreciate opinions, yet ultimately I decide. And then I found it was easier to discern. So prior to that, if someone said something to me which we could say can sound like a limiting belief or a disempowering belief, it was a lot more challenging for me to not accept that suggestion. And then it became easier because I released identification to these particular beliefs in mind that was generating the experience of it being challenging to listen to myself and trust myself. And so then it became easier for me to check in with myself. And so then what I found was it was easier for me to be aware of what I was thinking in relation to what a person said, in relation to information, which is very helpful because let's say a person is consuming information. They might not realize, but they may be accepting the suggestions in the information. Let's say the information was 70 or 80% positive information, and 20% of the information is not true to you. We can call that information limiting, disempowering, restrictive, belief-based information. That information is not resonant with how you truly are, which is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. If the person is not consciously aware of what they're relating to that information, they may be blindly accepting suggestions without questioning them. Think of, for example, if a person watches the news or reads particular blog posts or watch particular YouTube videos, rather than questioning the information, even if it's not helpful for them, they might just be accepting the suggestions. What's interesting is you could say it's their own suggestions because the conscious mind chooses what to accept or not. So if I say something to you, I present you some information, I use a word, you can choose how to relate to that word. See, we're taught the language, for example, English, and we're taught this is what this word means, this is what this word means, etc. And then a person may form very subjective meanings to words, like, for example, money, as the example brought up earlier. A person might think, well, money is scarce for me. It takes a lot of hard work to make money. I've certainly proved that to not be true. I have a wonderful lifestyle. I love what I do. And money flows effortlessly to me doing what I love to do. That is what happened once I released that belief that I need to force myself and do a lot of hard work to make money. Certainly it does work. As I was making money, working hard, yet I was stressed out. I was frustrated. And I wasn't using what Napoleon Hill would call creative imagination. I wasn't allowing infinite intelligence, the infinite intelligence within my subconscious mind, to provide me clear plans, inspiration that was always there. I wasn't allowing that to arise naturally because I was clouding my mind with mental chatter that arose from those restrictive, limiting, untrue beliefs stored in the subconscious mind. So I released them through autosuggestion. Now, if I say a word, doesn't matter what word to you, you may relate to that word differently than I do. Which means you consciously assign meaning to the word. You can consciously assign power to the word, you could say, by what you relate to the word. Now, this is extremely powerful because, for example, in communication, a person may hear another person say something to them which they interpret as rejection, from which they may say something like, they're not good enough, people don't love them, people don't accept them the way they are. They may interpret that based on what the person says, which they conclude as rejection. Now, if another person does not have that belief of whatever the statement is the person said, I don't want to do the deal with you, if they don't have interpretation or a belief that suggests if a person does not want to do a deal with them, it means that they are not good enough, they are not loved, they do not have identification to that particular belief, they don't think those thoughts of limitation. So two people can hear the exact word, two people can hear the exact statement and relate to it differently. What does this mean? Well, what it means is that the watchman at the gate, your conscious mind, has the ability to choose what to relate to what a person says. The words, the statements. You choose what it means. And it also means that awareness is brought to particular beliefs in the subconscious mind based on what a person thinks in relation to what the person says. It reveals what beliefs are stored in the subconscious mind. So the way that I have been applying this book very effectively over the years is to be aware of what I think prior to interactions with people, prior to interactions in environment, prior to circumstances, prior to information, during conversations with people, during experiences in environments, during circumstances, and during engaging with information, and also after interactions with people, after experiences in environment, after engaging with information, and after experiencing circumstances. If any thoughts arise in mind that are limiting, disempowering, restrictive, simply not true and not authentic, then I know that that arises from a subconscious belief. And I ask myself the question, what is that belief? The conscious mind has the ability to bring awareness to the subconscious belief, and then I write it down. For example, let's use the rejection example. A person says, this appearance means I am not good enough, which is clearly untrue, as you are love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, unconditional. And that is not determined by appearances. So people won't accept me, people won't love me, is an illusory belief. It's an untrue belief. So I write it down. Doesn't mean I'm going to identify with it. I write it down to bring awareness to it. And then I say, what feels authentic and true? And then I create an autosuggestion. The autosuggestion could be something like, everywhere I go in relation to environments, I feel at peace, I feel love, I feel happiness, I feel my true nature. During conversations with people, I feel comfortable sharing what's on my heart. People accept me for who I am. After conversations, I feel wonderful. I feel joyous. I feel harmonious as I realize that I have harmonious relationships with people. And then what you could do is you could turn these into recordings. You could record yourself saying these autosuggestions that you create that are customized for you, created by you, because you know yourself. You listen to yourself and you trust yourself. Record them and play them on loop prior to going to sleep. You can also play them on loop throughout the day. Doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. This is what I did. This was so powerful that I considered, for example, Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret, James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, Brian Tracy's 21 Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires, as wonderful audio programs that to me sounded like autosuggestions that would say the kind of things that I wanted to believe to be true, because they were true to me. It's just that there was subconscious beliefs that were generating resistance to accepting the truth to what they were saying. And not necessarily everything that they were saying. What I did was I edited the audios so that it was only the things that I felt resonant with that I would create custom audios with, and I would listen to them in loop again and again and again. Back in 2005, I would listen to 21 Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires by Brian Tracy over and over again while I was driving. And what I noticed is over the years, I incorporated what he was saying. The specific aspects that I felt were true and authentic became my subconscious beliefs. And these are the true and authentic beliefs that belong to what we refer to as the ideal concept of self. Let's talk about what he says about reprogramming the subconscious mind. So we know that the subconscious mind is a place where beliefs and memories are stored. You can access these memories and you can change them. You can change your relationship with them as well. For example, you could do this with timeline regression, which is an NLP modality. It's a powerful modality. You can also change these beliefs. These beliefs are not fixed. If they are not true and authentic, don't believe them anymore. Let's talk about how we could do that. He says, whatever you impress on your subconscious mind is expressed on the screen of space, and thoughts entertained in your conscious mind, as conditions, experiences, and events. So as mentioned, expressed on the screen of space as the experiences of life, our relationships, our environment, how we experience ourselves. For example, it used to be very scary for me to speak publicly like this, to record videos. Now it feels easy, effortless, fun, joyous. I look forward to waking up in the morning and recording these videos and sharing them with you. It's a wonderful feeling. It is something that I genuinely and authentically desire to do. Yet, in earlier stages, I was identified with particular beliefs that were generating unnecessary resistance, which would manifest as, we could say, emotions of anxiety, which emotions are energy in motion. The subconscious mind, the beliefs are labeling the emotions so that they are experienced in that particular way, which we can call anxiety. Once those beliefs were changed to core authentic beliefs, I experienced excitement prior to recording these videos, during these videos, after these videos. The energy in motion is not suppressed or repressed. Rather, it is allowed to flow through this creative expression, through this conversation, through public speaking, because that is what I genuinely desire to do. Notice how he also said, and thoughts entertained in your conscious mind. So if the individual is entertaining thoughts of disharmony, untrue thoughts, illusory thoughts, unreal thoughts, not from the premise of being love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment in mind, those thoughts are not you. You are not your thoughts. They arise from the particular beliefs in your subconscious mind that are generating those thoughts. You can write down those beliefs, exactly like I mentioned earlier, and you can change those beliefs through autosuggestion. That's what I did over the years to transform my life, to build 3 successful businesses, to manifest ideal harmonious relationships, wonderful life experiences, travel, adventures. From 2013 till about 2019, I was traveling the world. I lived in Austria, I was in the US, I went all over Europe. I was living in a whole bunch of really cool places as I chose to build my consulting practice and grow that to success while traveling, meeting people, having a wonderful lifestyle, doing exactly what I wanted to do, not because I should do this or should do that based on some standard that might not be authentic to you. This is the power of questioning these beliefs if a person is identified with them. So the thoughts may arise in mind from those beliefs. And if you see you are entertaining those thoughts, release identification to those beliefs that are generating the thoughts, and those thoughts no longer appear in mind. You can also, as he says here, change your thoughts, and then your life changes. So simply don't choose to think the thoughts, don't choose to identify with the thoughts that are not authentic, that are not true and authentic. Just simply don't identify with them. If a thought appears in mind that does not feel authentic, let it be, let it pass. Don't identify with it. Through this practice, which gets easier and easier and easier, the subconscious mind is purified from those beliefs that generate those thoughts. What I mean by that very specifically is, as mentioned earlier, these thoughts arise from these untrue beliefs which the person may have been forming throughout their life or have formed throughout their life. But that's okay, no shame and condemnation. Now is the opportunity to put off those former thinking patterns, to not think those thoughts. And as you don't identify with those thoughts, the beliefs that generate those thoughts dissolve. He says, keep your conscious mind busy with the expectation of the best, and your subconscious will faithfully reproduce your habitual thinking. So the way I like to do this is I like to remain in my flow. I remain in flow state. I make flow a priority. Since 2017, I made flow a priority because I realized it was the simplest way to do this. While I am in flow state right now, enjoying this conversation with you, there are no thoughts of disharmony in mind. I am not thinking any thoughts of criticism, doubt, uncertainty, illusory thinking in relation to you, in relation to this conversation, in relation to myself, in relation to that person walking there, in relation to this environment. I'm not thinking any of those thoughts because I am in flow state. And so by making flow a priority, by being in flow state, what happens is if you do think, you automatically think from the premise of truth in relation to the appearances. For example, in consulting, while appearing in flow state to the consulting sessions, we brainstorm, we come up with creative solutions for the seeming challenges for the clients. We do this in my business as well. If there is a challenge, I see it as an opportunity because there's always an opportunity in a circumstance, always. I acknowledge that there's always an opportunity in a circumstance to see the light, to see the possibility of it being in my favor, which it is. Reality is rigged in your favor. It also happens to be in mutual harmony with all. That's the way that reality works. If we think otherwise, that arises from untrue, illusory beliefs. It's not true, it's not real, it's illusory. Now, this is another thing that happened to me over the years as mind became purified from these restrictive, illusory, dichotomous thinking kind of beliefs that suggested otherwise, extreme, whatever, views that were not helpful, such as, there's no way this is going to work out. I try everything and it never works. People are just like this, very dogmatic, extreme views that don't make any sense anymore. As those beliefs were released, it was easier for me to spot the opportunity. I do a lot of consulting. As mentioned, I've been doing consulting since 2013. I grew my IT business to success from 2009 to 13. And then went into business consulting businesses with their operations, their finance, their leadership, their sales, their marketing, their innovation. I created 5 programs on onlinetrainingforentrepreneurs.com. I'll link in the description to it, teaching entrepreneurs based on my experience. And what I found was that it is easy to find opportunities in conversations with entrepreneurs. It is easy for me to see opportunities where they don't see opportunities. And actually, they can do this as well, which is what I teach. Because they and me are no different. You and I are no different. As we release identification to these untrue beliefs in the subconscious mind, authenticity flows. Our natural way of being flows, and our natural way of being is always seeing opportunities, always seeing prosperity, always seeing abundance everywhere. Even in situations, environments, relationships where a person might not have seen it before. Another wonderful practical example is of keeping the conscious mind occupied is exactly what we discussed in the book when we explored it. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy and also Atomic Habits. For me, what I like to do is focus on each task and each initiative, each project, each conversation, each hobby that I am involved with in the present moment. Be here now in the present moment, as we also discussed as we explored Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Be here now, deeply engaged in the present task from a state of flow. How can the mind drift? I consider it to be very therapeutic, actually. Why so? Because it's what you genuinely desire to do. If you genuinely desire to do the things that you love to do, you listen to yourself and trust yourself. It is only these untrue beliefs in mind that could arise, that could suggest otherwise, and we don't need to identify with them. What's the point of identifying with those illusory beliefs? Why do we need to do that? That's what I learned over the years. I thought it was normal. Once in a while you identify with these illusory beliefs. Once in a while you identify with positive beliefs. I thought that that's just how people operated. And because I thought that that's the way it was, people would appear in my environment and they would say, well, that's how it works. They were just echoing my beliefs. Notice this, relationships, environments, circumstances echo our beliefs. So then what do? If we check in with ourselves and we say, well, this is not how we really want to live, we stop thinking those thoughts. Those are unreal, illusory thoughts. And then what happens? Well, in relationships, for example, I end up being surrounded by people that think this way. For example, since I started this channel, and even when I was in consulting, even in my IT business, more and more people would appear to think this way. It was interesting because prior to that, when I first came across Think and Grow Rich, it didn't appear that there was many people around me that think this way. Now I happen to be surrounded by people, friends, family, relationships, clients that think this way. Whenever I go out and about and I meet people, it seems to me, this is how it appears to me now, it appears that more people are interested in this topic today than ever before. Or so it appears that way to me. Maybe it was always the case. Maybe it was like that before. I just didn't see it because I was identified with beliefs that was distorting my perception. He says, your subconscious has the answer to all problems. If you suggest to your subconscious prior to sleep, I want to get up at 6 a.m., it will wake you at the exact time. This is my experience. As mentioned, I enjoy waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I often set an alarm as a habit, but I find that I wake up prior to 5 a.m. because the intention is set. Isn't that fascinating? And I sleep very deeply. I sleep a lot of times with earplugs, and I sleep deeply. And then all of a sudden, I'll just wake up a couple minutes prior to 5 a.m. Because you can just set the intention. You can just send the instruction to your subconscious mind by suggesting it to yourself, intending that that's the way it works for you, and it works that way. So here's the key. He says, imagine the happy ending or solution to, he says, your problem. We could say seeming problem. Feel the thrill of accomplishment, and what you imagine and feel will be accepted by your subconscious mind and bring it to pass. So that's the key. Your subconscious mind does not choose what to accept or reject. It may generate resistance to accepting a suggestion, but that's because of a subconscious belief. When we release that resistance, it is easier to accept the suggestion. How do we do this? As mentioned, repetition of the same information and also repetition of the same information from different perspectives. What is also helpful is to speak to yourself in a way where you listen to yourself and trust yourself. As you know, my autosuggestions may sound very poetic and they may be very multidimensional. There's a reason why I communicate to myself that way. If I say to myself, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident, I am confident, maybe if I say it enough times, it will work. Yet I found that if I say something like, more so each moment in interactions with people, I experience my inherent self-confidence, my true nature, that is so easy for me to accept. There is no resistance to that. Now, that's the statement that I use. You may use that statement, or you may use I am confident. The key, what I recommend, is learning to speak with yourself, as we were talking about words earlier. Learn to communicate and use the words that are helpful for you. the words that one person used, and I've been working with entrepreneurs in this area since 2013. It was fascinating because when I got into consulting in the earlier stages, what I would do is I'd say, here's the plan, here is the blueprint, go and apply it, or let's come up with a custom solution. You can take this plan, apply it, they would agree upon it, and they wouldn't do it. They would, you could say, procrastinate, get distracted, shiny object syndrome, imposter syndrome. And in the earlier stages, it would frustrate me. But then I remembered, I said, wait, they're going through the same thing that I was going through, so no shame and condemnation. What was going on was they were identified with particular beliefs that were generating the illusions of separation between where they are now physically and where they are ideally, where they imagine themselves to be ideally. So what do? We, through conversations, having conversations, autosuggestions, self-talk, released identification one by one by one by one by one to those particular beliefs, and then they found that they naturally do the things that they genuinely desire to do. So that's another point. It's a key litmus for me, is if I commit to something, as mentioned, I like to commit to things from a state of flow and be fully engaged with what I'm doing. That way my conscious mind is deeply involved in the present moment with the current initiative, and there's no drifting, no thinking patterns in mind that suggest otherwise. And if they appear in mind, I don't identify with them, which purifies the subconscious mind from those illusory beliefs, those untrue, unreal beliefs. So what would happen, and what I teach also, is if I observe myself not doing the thing that I commit to doing. Let's say I commit to making 3 videos a week. That's what we did a number of years ago. I, prior to that, was doing 1 video per week, and then I committed to doing 2 videos a week, and every week we did 2 videos a week. And then I committed to doing 3 videos a week, and every week we did 3 videos a week. This is the same when it comes to going for my runs. This is the same to whatever it is that I commit to. If I commit to, I go all into that commitment. I show up and consistently perform that commitment and not drift from a state of flow, because I know that if I don't do the thing that I committed to do, then that is a result of a belief, because I genuinely want to do it. I'm not telling myself to do something I don't want to do and force myself to do it. I'm questioning why, if it happened, that I didn't commit to and see into completion the things that I wanted to do. Why didn't I do it? It's clearly because of a subconscious belief. The same as, for example, when I mentioned one of the things that I used to do back in the days was 5 prospecting sessions a day. I committed to it. Let's say if I didn't do it, I would ask myself the question without shaming and condemning myself. Why didn't I do the thing that I committed to do? And some kind of excuses-based thinking would pop up in mind, or limiting belief-based thinking would pop up in mind, and I wouldn't shame and condemn myself. I would write those beliefs down, and I would change them. I would no longer identify with those beliefs, and what would happen? I end up doing the thing. Not only do I end up doing the thing, I love doing the thing, because I genuinely love doing the thing. Perfect example would be public speaking. I genuinely love public speaking. I genuinely love entrepreneurship. I genuinely love making these videos. I genuinely love conversations. I genuinely love particular kinds of conversations. I genuinely like doing particular hobbies. Yet, if there was resistance to doing the things that I genuinely desire to do, then that resistance is generated by subconscious beliefs. If a person does not identify with those subconscious beliefs, I'm laughing because it's so obvious to me now, yet in the earlier stages, it was hard for me to understand what I'm saying. And you do get to a point by applying this book here where you see how obvious it is that you genuinely desire to do something, whatever it may be. Start the business, do the tasks that you committed to, see the project into fruition, 5 prospecting calls a day, regular practice, snowboarding, whatever it is, whatever you desire to do. You genuinely desire to do it, and then you see yourself procrastinating or not doing the thing, you say, wait, no shame and condemnation. I don't need to shame and condemn myself. There's nothing wrong with me. I can just bring awareness to this belief. What is the belief? And change the belief. Release identification to the belief. Because when you do that, you'll automatically do the thing. And not only will you automatically do the thing, you will enjoy doing the thing. You will be in flow doing the thing. Why is that the case? Because it's so obvious that it is what you genuinely desire to do. You genuinely desire to do the thing that you genuinely love to do. If a person is not genuinely doing the thing that they love to do, it's only because they're identified with beliefs that is generating resistance to doing the thing that they genuinely desire to do. It's such an obvious statement. Just like, for example, when it comes to money. If a person loves building their business, creating wonderful products and services that benefit people, and making a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit as a result, what's wrong with that? They genuinely desire to do it. Now, they might think that it's a lot of stress and frustration and hard work in a way where they get burned out. That's the only way to do it. I can assure you, it's not the only way to do it. But some might say, well, it might be true if you work maybe 4 hours a day or 5 hours or 8 hours, but it might not be true if you work 10 or 12 hours. Well, from personal experience, I find it to be true across the board. There were particular projects that I was involved with in my business, even after applying this in Think and Grow Rich in my corporate career, where I would work 12 hours, 15 hours, and I wouldn't feel tired. It would be fun, it would be joyous, it would be flow-based. There are people that play video games, for example, for 15, 16 hours. They love to do it. They don't feel tired doing it. Why would that be any different doing what you love to do? You see, it's beliefs in the subconscious mind. So we have a conscious mind, we have a subconscious mind, and what we could do is bring awareness to the beliefs that are stored in the subconscious mind by being aware of what we think, how we emotionally relate, and how we behave prior to interactions, during interactions with people, after interactions, prior to engaging in environments, during engaging in environments, after engaging in environments, prior to circumstances, during the circumstances, after the circumstances, prior to engaging with information, during engaging with information, after engaging with information. And as you are the only suggester, you can suggest anything in relation to words, in relation to information, in relation to people, in relation to environment, in relation to circumstance. What I suggest, what I recommend, is your true nature, which is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment. You go within and you question the beliefs. A person may think, no, it has to be this way, even though it's not helpful. I can assure you that even the most challenging beliefs that I was so deeply identified with, I released through exactly what he's talking about in this book here, which again is very simple, acknowledging that the subconscious mind is where the beliefs are stored, where the memories are stored, and via conscious autosuggestion, you can change these beliefs. You can change the way you think. You can change your life. And as you change this programming in your subconscious mind, reality changes to be in your favor. As it was always in your favor, you'll come to that realization. It was only these subconscious beliefs that were generating the illusion that it wasn't in your favor, as he says here. Whatever you impress on your subconscious mind is expressed on the screen of space and thoughts entertained in your conscious mind as conditions, experiences, and events. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. This was a joyous experience to share this conversation with you, walking in one of my favorite parks, where I go to, where I receive within wonderful, inspiring thoughts, which I can then turn into autosuggestions. Wonderful clarity in mind. I find that to be the case when I'm in nature. That may be true for you. Let's conclude this with an autosuggestion to further encourage. You could say, I discern, I have a profound ability to choose what I relate to, information, people, environment, circumstance, and I choose from the premise of my true nature, which is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, to live the life that I truly desire to live. As I allow myself to be as I am, the world appears to be in my favor. People, environment, circumstance, information appears to be in my favor and appears to be in favor with all.